What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. I am so excited to show you guys what we're going to be working on today. As you may be able to tell behind me, snow has fallen. We got about 6 inches yesterday, and I am so stoked to get out snowmobiling. It's one of my favorite hobbies, and specifically I love vintage snowmobiles. Have an appreciation for them, always have. Now, yesterday I got that thing out, dialed in, had to do some carb cleaning, had a clogged main jet. No big deal. But there's one snowmobile in my fleet right now that has been near and dear to my heart for a long time. When I had the opportunity to purchase it for $40, I hopped on it. And I actually dragged it all the way from Kodiak, Alaska, from a junkyard up there, all the way down here to New Hampshire when I was living up in Alaska. So, without further ado, I'm gonna show you what I got. We're gonna dive into it today. Right now it has no spark. We're gonna diagnose that. We're gonna see if we can get it running, get it out, rip it around the yard, and then from there, we'll do a full teardown and actually go ahead and restore it. But today we're gonna try and get spark, do the basics to get it running, and then see how she rides. In between projects, so I got a few things going on, but without further ado, the infamous Skidoo Elan. Yes, I purchased this from a junkyard for $40. It does have the skis, they're off it right now. This is when I transported it, pretty much loaded it off the truck right into the garage, and here she sat. So, the backstory on this is when I purchased it, it was supposedly locked up. Well, I've never been this lucky before. Turns out the pull cord or the pull starter was actually rusted solid. I've never been that lucky. Sure enough, I soaked the cylinders in diesel and let it sit for 2-3 months. Came back and still locked solid. Expecting to have some major engine issues, I started tearing it down, and I've removed the pull cord to again put a kind of breaker bar on the crank just to kind of see if I could get a little movement out of it. And then it spun over perfectly. So turns out it was just that guy, which, as you can see, we're gonna have to take apart. It is kind of acting up right now, so it doesn't recoil, but I do believe this to be a 1980-ish model Skidoo Elan. Overall in pretty decent shape. I mean, as you guys see, it is how I have purchased it. Again, minus the skis, I do have those. Under the hood, I do have the fairing for the back here, but under the hood, we have a single cylinder, 250cc Rotax motor, old school. And today what we're going to do is dive into the electronics of it. I will say when I first got it, I kind of very quickly tried to hotwire and kind of jump all the safeties, the pull tether, the actual kill switch, just to see if that was maybe grounding out or one of the issues, and no luck there. So we're going to dive a little deeper today. Luckily, these are easy to work on, and we're going to find out why it doesn't have spark. I do have a box of parts over in the corner over there that do include some old points and condensers off of a 4500 Citation that I did of the same vintage. It was a 1980, 1981. So I do have a lot of the same kind of electronic components just chilling in the box over there, along with a fuel pump rebuild kit, some carb parts, intake boot, some of the things that you see missing here. So it's going to help kind of get us up and running. Once we get to that point, as you can see, there is a little bit of body rust on the actual tunnel itself. That said, it is pretty solid. Few little soft spots up front to be expected. Looks like they were maybe doing some ditch banging, kind of beat up the hood a little bit, but it is all in one piece. So it's going to need some gluing, some epoxying, maybe a little fiberglass work. It is in one piece. The windshield's seen better days, but it is still intact. And believe it or not, it was on my truck bed from Kodiak, Alaska down here. So it's pretty durable. Still very pliable. Yeah, you can see kind of the repair that they had made up front here. Still needs to probably go back and touch up a little bit, make it a little nicer. Anyway, we're going to get this thing tore down here a little further, figure out why it doesn't have spark, get it running, rip it around, and then we'll do a whole nother series on the actual restoration of this. All right, we're gonna go ahead here, start by taking off our cover here for our pull cord. We're gonna probably soak that in some oil while we're at it, because as you guys saw, still a little sticky, to be expected. This thing was sitting out in the elements for a while. I do truly believe that it originally was parked because they believed it to be seized up, locked up. But as you guys saw, well, yeah, I guess you haven't seen too much yet, but it truly was just the pull cord. Now I do plan to do kind of one more little check here to just verify that we are still having a no spark situation. You know, and just double check that it's not something simple on the outside or exterior to the stator or electrical components. So just to be safe, we'll double check our grounds and a few other little components like that before we dive too deep into it. Yeah, this is, I mean, for those of you following along at home who are somewhat familiar with the Skidoo Elans, they have a cult following. To be honest, when I first got into snowmobiling, it was kind of a sled that I had fantasized about owning, just because of how light it is and how kind of versatile it can be in your lower to kind of lower snow situations. And even in the deeper snow, because it is so light, they kind of float on top. Not very high powered. I think of this vintage, the 250 singles put out maybe somewhere around 11 or 12 horsepower. Not a lot, but not a lot of sled to move either. So combined with their gearing, they made great trapper sleds, great just all around, kind of a little utility sled, all reliable. So we're gonna go for it and get this old gal fixed right up. As you guys can see, you know, we're kind of dealing with that rust situation in there, and doesn't want to recoil on its own. That's just that whole assembly in there. I'm gonna probably have to go ahead and take this apart again, but in the meantime, we will soak it with a little bit of oil, just to see once it start working itself. Any of you guys who have worked on these know that, you know, these pull cords can be quite a project sometimes. Not always the easiest things to work on. Alright, so that's going to soak for a little bit, and we're going to go ahead. The spark plug is in right now, but you guys can see it's incredible compression on this motor, so really excited about that. Yeah, just couldn't have gotten any luckier. I was going to buy it regardless, whether it needed an engine or not, just because overall I think, you know, these sleds are worth saving. Every Elan is worth saving, if you ask me. So I haven't dove into one of these personally, but we're gonna just do it kind of together here. I do believe that we're gonna find our electrical components under our flywheel in here. This is a very kind of unique design and setup. Not something I'm necessarily used to seeing, but learn something new every day. That's what I say. I have my multimeter ready, so we can start testing components. I'm going to have to reference some forums and stuff like that to figure out what we're looking for in terms of readings, but we will we'll dive into that if we need to. We might get lucky and just have potentially, you know, I could see us having just a something as simple as maybe like points and condensers. So I'm not sure how well you guys can see this, so I'll kind of bring you guys around and I'll make sure you guys aren't left in the dust here. So we have this kind of what looks to be a cover. It looks like I can undo these 3 bolts right here, remove this adapter, and I'm hoping to see maybe into our electrical components, but we'll see. No hurt in taking this off, I guess. Hopefully not. We'll see. Let me grab my impact for this. Yeah, full disclosure, never taken one of these apart before. All these older vintage Skidoos I feel like are slightly different, so. Supposedly these Elans are of the easier sleds to work on. I would definitely say thus far. Oh, what do we got going on there? So we had a bolt in one, and then it looks like we got a nut in another one. Interesting. With a stud. All right, good to know. Oh, promising. All right, this is good. This is good. I am seeing what we want to see. Awesome. So yep, here's our little cover there, which I'll put our bolts inside. Use it like a little tray there. All right, so you guys can kind of see back here. We have our actual electrical components. So this would be our actual stator. At this point, we're going to want to actually get inside of here, and we're going to probably have to remove this fan right here. Definitely. We're going to have to remove the flywheel to get this out. Hopefully we don't have any special tools required, or nothing that we can't come up with on our own. But sometimes you get lucky and you can see, oh yeah, here we go. Okay, sweet. So, nice. It's looking very clean in there. I can see into my my points. So what we'll try and do first, before we have to go too deep into the rabbit hole here, so we'll go in there and we'll kind of clean out the file out the actual points, which snap together and create your spark, sitting right up in here. So we'll take like a little feeler gauge or something of the sorts, a little piece of sandpaper, get it up in there, give it a light sand. Over time, corrosion builds up, and if you have any moisture that's circulating around these engines, which as you can see by the outside, and I'll tell you firsthand, Alaska is very moist, so a lot of moisture up there precipitates more days in the year than you see sun. That's just a fact. But yeah, so we'll go ahead, we'll clean this up and see if we can get lucky and kind of fix it up from this point of view before we have to tear it down any further. All right, so I've tried to devise an easy way of showing you guys what we're doing here, but unfortunately it's not in the best spot for filming, so you'll just have to take my word for it. Because this is a single cylinder, that means that we only have one point and one condenser, so pretty straightforward. These are, once you kind of learn your way around them, they are very nice and easy to work on, at least in my opinion. There's not much to it. We'll get a little piece of sandpaper, which I just had. All right, we got some nice 600 grit right here. Something real soft and nothing too crazy. We don't need to totally file this thing down. We'll see if we can sneak this guy in there. So what I'm gonna do is kind of hold open the, I just held open, let's see, can you guys see? Kind of. I'll bring you in a little closer. All right, so in here we have our actual points. And what I ended up doing is just taking some sandpaper. I took a screwdriver, pried it open. And now what we're gonna do is we're just going to kind of run this back and forth ever so slightly while those points are clamped together. And what we're gonna do is just be cleaning up kind of that contact surface there, which, as mentioned before, can accumulate corrosion and a little bit of oxidation, which will inhibit your spark. So, to be fair, they looked pretty clean, but we just wanted to be kind of check our bases here. And our condenser looks good down here, tucked back in here, hard to see, but it doesn't look burnt or any of the wires missing on that, so we are looking good there. Another kind of possibility for our no spark is going to be our coil, which is on this side. We'll go ahead and we'll test that, but I just wanted to hop in here because this is a points and condenser motor, clean that up, and then we'll kind of use that as a little bit of a baseline. So I'm just going to make sure. I think I had some contact cleaner floating around, but might honestly be out at this point. I've been, oh yeah, those are looking clean. There is also a procedure for cleaning these, or for setting the points, so setting the gap in between. And it's looking good. So, all right, with that, we could probably put a drill on this and actually watch it spark, because you'll see a little bit of an arc. But we're not gonna get too crazy. We're gonna throw this back together. We're gonna put our pull cord on, which has been soaking in oil, and then we're gonna see from there what we got. Alrighty, and with the power of YouTube, we've got that back together. So, now I just kind of want to show you guys, basically what I had done the first time to get this pull cord assembly back to somewhat operational. Granted, when I go and actually restore this sled, I will fully take this apart, clean everything, polish it up, do the whole nine. So as you see, while I'm talking, there's paint chips flying off. But oiled it back up with some PB Blaster and good as used. So we're just gonna, for the time being, put her back together. I think we were somewhere just trying to find the orientation where we were before, and it would help if I had the old maybe it's that way. Yeah, I think that looks about right. Ah, there we go. Yep, that looks about right. We'll bolt her up and send her down the road, or whatever they say. I think these were the bolt holes we used. Granted, you guys probably are watching this, or as I edit this back, I'm probably gonna be telling myself, no, it's not how it went. But some of these holes are pretty dang messed up. I mean, you know, we're talking a pretty dang old sled that has experienced salt air coming from island in Alaska, and we have mild steel bolts that go into a cast aluminum housing here and thread. So yep, that is a recipe for disaster in terms of corrosion, but what do I know? I'm just here to save this dang thing and enjoy some many years to come on this sled. So we're just setting out to do that. It was pretty cool. I got a lot of interesting looks on the drive coming from Alaska down here. So that was pretty unique. You know, seeing people's reactions to seeing an old Elan, still a survivor. You know, just hanging out on some guy's homemade sled deck, traveling 6,000 miles. I couldn't let this thing, you know, sit up there. I mean, I originally intended to at least get it to a running state while I was in Alaska, but I mean, with work and just life, it was not very conducive to me completing this project up there. So now I have my own garage, and we had a bolt walk off on us, but that's okay. Oh, let's see. Is this? Oh, good thing that didn't go anywhere. Got our little Elan tag there. Yeah, we'll find the bolt later, I'm sure. Probably fell into one of those holes or something. Not a big deal. Anyway, or maybe I only pulled out. Whatever. Not a big deal. Anyway, pretty neat. These Elans take a really weird spark plug that I have never seen. So hopefully this thing's still good. Rarely have I seen a spark plug go bad these days. However, this being an older sled, older plug, possibly. I can, let's see. Do I have one handy? I don't. If I had one of these handy, an actual spark plug, another spark plug, I'd show you guys how weird this looks. It just, this is not a 13/16 nut, and this thread is massive. I mean, that bore is much bigger than an actual spark plug bore. And maybe you can tell by just my fingers, I got pretty average sized hands. But anyway, enough rambling. This spins over now, so we'll go ahead. We'll take this, assuming it's still good. I might end up having to just go grab another plug. That might be the answer. Slash, I can. Now that I think about it, I should have. Yeah, that's looking good. I do have my spark plug tester here, so we can, let's see. Yep, so that does, sometimes these plugs, for whatever reason, doesn't fit. I think it's just the way that the end is, and really it's with the older plugs where you kind of get it could be hit or miss. So with just cleaning the points, or point rather, we're going to go ahead and test this out. All right, so with just cleaning the points, I have my inline spark tester here set up, which you guys may or may not be able to see. I might just have to turn off the shop light there so you guys can see better. But we're going to look for a spark in here. So I'll, let me see, maybe I can get you guys even a little closer, or a little better angle there. And we'll turn this guy off and see if we can get a spark. I will explain some of my wiring here. Get you guys adjusted, maybe. So down here, I have the, this is the tether wires right here. I have these bypassed and just kind of pushed together because those are, those should be connected when this is on. The tether depresses the switch, which would push the contacts together, I think. Pretty sure. So that's what we're going to start with. This is our kill switch wire right up here. That our kill switch was a little beat up. So I have these apart right now, which makes sense because when you would put it together, that should ground the magneto. I think I'm correct in that. This is where I can get a little backwards sometimes. But luckily, all we got to do, because I got the wires cut apart, because I don't trust these switches right now. Luckily, all we got to do is just try different combinations, and there's only 4 wires, so we'll go from there. So with just cleaning the points, we'll see if we got anywhere. No big deal if not. Ooh. Nope, nothing yet. No spark. Nothing yet. So now we're going to pull these apart just, you know, for the sake of it. Oh, look at that. Whoa. No way. No way. Did you guys see that? Here, let's do it one more time. We have spark. That is insane. Oh my gosh. What an easy fix. There's a chance we're going to get out today. Okay. I am really excited. Like, very excited right now. That, sweet. You guys saw how easy it was. Also, to my earlier credit, I warned you guys. Sometimes I get this stuff backwards. Clearly, these, when you push the tether down, it must unground these. When you put them together, that would ground it. Which is the equivalent of us pulling this off. So when the tether is off, the contacts come together. So it must be spring loaded where it pushes it out. Then when you put the tether on, it opens up the gap. Wow. I genuinely was actually not expecting that. So that's really cool. We've got spark. Now we just got to go through some carburetor stuff, get the skis on, mix up some fresh fuel, probably do a fuel line or two. I am stoked right now. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. This is fantastic. I also got a new kill switch that I'll probably put on too, just so I have a kill switch. But wow. All right, let's get to it. All right, so it's Christmas, and from my move from Alaska down here, you guys can see it's aptly marked Elan. So it's the Elan parts, and yeah, don't even need these. I had a couple little condensers laying around and whatnot, but I just gotta remind myself what exactly I had. This is an intake boot that goes somewhere, but that's the part number. I ordered all this stuff like over a year ago. So it's like Christmas again. This, do not open with knife. That's a seat cover. All right, here we go. Here's the, what's the name? Dennis Kirk. All right, so here's our Dennis Kirk order here. Vertex, piston gasket. This should be our fuel pump kit. McCuney fuel pump. Yep. So our fuel pump kit. We got our new kill switch here, which is sweet because I hacked that other one up. New pull cord because I thought I needed a new pull cord. I don't know why. Forget what that's all about. Float bowl gasket. So I'm going to take apart the carburetor, and I just wanted to grab a float bowl gasket. They don't have a ton of parts for these on Dennis Kirk, but enough to get dangerous. And then here you go. So here's our, we need this guy because if you see down there, we're missing that guy. So this is our intake boot, which is going to go right in here with some bolts. And then this guy is hopefully, with a little bit of persuasion, gonna go in there. And then we'll, yeah. So anyway, sweet. This thing is easy enough to work on. So we're gonna go ahead, and my vote is gonna be to take apart the fuel pump. We'll do that, then we'll pull apart the carb, do that. Then we'll just assemble and trying to get it running in the shop here. From there, I'm going to go ahead, grease undercarriage stuff, and we'll get some skis, put the skis back under it, and then we're going to get it on out of the shop. All right, we're going to prep this fuel pump for coming apart. Give it a little squirt there, and that's going to be an 8mm. Go ahead and grab our 8mm out. Like butter. Surprisingly enough, you can still get pistons. You know, I think most of them are probably new old stock at this point, but you can get new pistons for these motors still, which is promising. All right, just because I might also forget and have to look back, I've been wrong before. I will just think out loud here. Our top is our crank, so it's our pulse, which is a basically a vacuum that is delivered from the crankcase there, and that's what actuates our diaphragms kind of back and forth to pump the fuel, squeeze the fuel around. We're gonna go ahead and kind of work our hose off there, and then some of these are marked in and out, but it goes in like that. And the dimple is towards the seat. All right, dimple's towards the seat. And on the seat side, we have our carburetor supply. Same thing, we're just gonna work our fuel line off here. Now, I don't know if this is bad or not, or even in need of repairing, but I kind of like to do this as a safety precaution just to make sure we're getting the right amount of fuel to the carburetor, because that makes tuning a lot easier, just when you verify that this is actually working properly. This is a McCuney, and I've had a lot of good luck with these, so I'm not expecting much to be wrong. These are pretty simple. These are just this is a single deck or a single stack, so not much to it. I think there's only actually one diaphragm in here, maybe a spring, and just 4 bolts. So we're gonna get up on the bench, take it apart, and show you guys a little deeper look into what these look like. Alrighty, so we're going to hopefully you guys can see this. Let me just make sure. Yep, you guys can see that. So we're just going to kind of take this apart real quick. I'm going to give it a little brush down and get rid of as much of the junk and grime and all that crap off as I can. So yeah, a little bit more while I'm doing this, just, because it's some downtime, but a little more into the backstory on this. It came from Kodiak Island in Alaska, which I lived up there for 2 years, and there's a junkyard up there, and because this town and the city is an island, I mean, I say city very, very lightly, because it is an island. There's only one, very, very small. There's only one metal recycler on the island. There's a transfer station and a metal recycler, and outside of that, you have, those are basically your only options of disposing of trash. So this junkyard there, unlike a lot of the lower 48 junkyards, collects a lot of just unique stuff, like anything and everything metal related. And unlike the lower 48, you actually have to pay to dispose of your metal. In the lower 48, you guys are familiar with, how scrapping works, I'm sure, where, you bring in some metal, they give you some, a couple bucks, whatever, to, as a thank you, and, they're gonna just basically grind up all the scrap and then, sell it for a profit to wholesalers who will then eventually, turn it back into the Coke cans and razor blades that we all love. Here in Kodiak, again, well, not here, but, in Kodiak, you have to, again, pay to get rid of your stuff, because what they end up doing is eventually they bail it up and then it goes to, the barge terminal. And then it gets shipped all the way to Seattle, which is a, long transit by sea. Trust me, I would know. I've done it. Seattle to Kodiak, a couple days worth trip, and it's transported on a ocean-going barge. And let's see. That does look like what we need. Sweet. Just wanted to verify. Thank you, Vertex. But yeah, so couple day trip, and you have your junk is ended up in Seattle, Washington. Well, anyway, because that's such a cumbersome process, what ends up happening is a lot of this stuff that enters this scrapyard up there stays there because it's a big facility. They have a lot of acreage, and it's old school, very old school. They also allow picking, which is not very common to U.S. Junkyards. Up there, they have vehicles, they have, bulldozers, machinery. There's some government, activity up there. So you get a lot of old government surplus stuff. Really just unique scrapyard. And I befriended the people who run it, and I was actually in San Diego at the time for some training, and I get a tip from them that, hey, this older snowmobile came in. They knew at that point that was kind of the stuff that I was into and looking for, so they were like, hey, do you want us to put it aside for you or whatnot, because I was out of town. And oh yeah, look at that. So you kind of see there, pretty gummy, not in great Not in the best of shape, but let's see. Yep, and it looks like we've got what we need there. So we'll continue to take this apart. So yeah, needless to say, I got a tip off that, hey, this was here, how much, and blah blah blah, and there's never really any going back and forth, and so they were always very fair. So I ended up with it, and incredible kind of backstory for this little snowmobile to come all the way from Kodiak, Alaska to the East Coast. And to be completely honest, I don't know. It's going to take a lot for me to probably end up selling this one. I have gotten very accustomed to, buying and selling things as I move, and, letting go of things pretty easy. And this is just one of those, sleds, and one of those opportunities and stories that I just don't think is gonna kind of easily be replicated. And with my own kind of sentimental, desire to have one of these, that kind of also is a little icing on top of, why I would want to keep this. So yeah, that's this came from Nick's Auto Salvage and Recycling in Kodiak, Alaska. The more you know. The more you know. All right, so we got 3 diaphragms here. Do this guy goes down first. This guy goes, okay, so yeah, we're actually going to lay it out with this guy, because this top piece actually has the dowel pins that holds it all together. So we'll go like that. We'll sandwich in, nope, we're going to do sandwich in this guy. There we go. And now we're going to go ahead and do our final guy right there. And that should be it. So now we're going to, that is pretty much as straightforward as it gets. Very clean on the inside for the most part. Again, I'll show you guys that diaphragm. Little dirty. So could I probably have gotten away with just cleaning it because I hadn't actually, ripped any diaphragms? Yeah, I probably could have just wiped away some of that sludge and buildup of old fuel, but not worth risking it. And because I'm going to end up doing a complete restoration on this this sled, it's worth the extra time and peace of mind to put this whole fuel pump together. And I think, honestly, don't quote me on this because it was a year ago, but I do believe that was, it could have been as cheap as like $10 for $20 for a diaphragm set, which is so worth it. Anyone who tinkers on these old sleds now, well worth it. But anyway, here we go. So I'm going to throw this back on the sled. Don't need to bring you guys along. Then we're going to re-rack here and get the carburetor up on top. We'll go from there. Power of YouTube, carburetor. So power of YouTube, here we go. We've got a carburetor. I am hoping and praying that this is not, dust to dust, ashes to ashes situation, and we have a whole bunch of that aluminum dust in here, but you never know. So we're gonna pull this apart. Luckily, very, very simple old carburetor. Simple was the name of the game with the Elans. Very user-friendly snowmobile. Anything of this vintage, I think, in general, was pretty easy to work on. Not to say that our no spark issue it could have been something else. I mean, it very well could have been, but the fact that, you know, within a couple minutes there, genuinely, I mean, that whole ordeal with filming, which takes a little extra, you know, in under 30 minutes, we got spark back without having to completely tear this whole thing apart, which is, you know, there's something to be said about that. All right, moment of truth. All right, I'll take it. This is, you know, about what I expected, but not terrible. You know, our floats still do move. They're 2 independent floats. You know, we got a lot of crusties in there, but totally salvageable. And, you know, here's our, you know, our needle in here still is, our needle's stuck. Okay, no worries. And then, yeah, so we're just going to I'm just using some engine degreaser, which you guys may or may not know about this, but this engine degreaser from O'Reilly's, I don't know what's in it, but it's a petroleum product. It's got like, it leaves like an oily residue, which I'm like, if it's an engine degreaser, I mean, I understand, I guess, you know, using petroleum to break down petroleum. I can understand the science behind that, I guess, but still a little weird, because first time I used it, I thought I was going to be using like brake clean and, you know, cleaning the surface, making it nice and dry and ready to, you know, kind of put some finishing paint on it. And I was like, whoa, you know, even just for the sake of gasket maker, you know, you kind of have to be careful, because you want those surfaces to be pretty much as free of residue as you can. All right, so here's our main jet here, nice and clean, kind of just a little guy. On that 700 Summit that I showed you guys the other day, or earlier, yesterday, I was taking the carbs apart because one of these ended up being partially clogged, so it ran, but it was not running right. But again, these carburetors are as easy as they get. Pull this apart. Got a lot of crap on here, so I'm just going to kind of re-rack real quick, and we're going to get a new little rag. I'm just going to throw these on the floor right now. Carburetors, these are very forgiving in my experience. You know, the older the machine, the more forgiving the actual carburetor is to any little impurities that you get in there. You know, usually it'll just pass through. You know, you're gonna ultimately loosen up something while you're doing all this work, but let's see. I might have a better punch, but we're gonna see if we can just get this pin moving with just a little flat head, and then yeah, I'm actually not a big Skidoo guy. I've had mixed luck with them. But when it comes to the vintage stuff, I do appreciate a nicer, you know, Elan or something like that. All right, so here's our actual, our needle valve. This guy was in there, you know, a little stuck, but, you know, I'll say sticky. There's a little bit of residue in there, but nothing crazy. I've seen some pretty bad ones in my day, where, you know, they're just basically held in there by dust, and you really have to work them to get them moving. This pin's looking pretty good. It's another thing I kind of will look for, is just to make sure, you know, where are we at. Do we have a little bit of corrosion buildup? Totally normal. There we go. Got that seated in there. The spring still works. What I do is I'll flip these carburetors upside down. You can kind of see back in there, the actual needle has dropped. So as I move this up and down, we see that, we know we're good. Good to go on that side. So this guy, you want to make sure that we don't have any stuck floats. So we're going to want to actuate these guys. We want to make sure that under their own weight, they fall on their own. So this guy's a little sticky. Well, again, because this degreaser stuff is kind of like an oil, again, who knows what the heck is in there. All right, there we go. I like that. I'm gonna go ahead and just drain some of this out and just give it a little wipe down. I'm so stoked. This thing with some spark is gonna be, I think this thing's gonna be a ripper. We have enough snow out where this Elan will be fun right now, because it's fan cooled, it's light and whatnot, but kind of too little snow for the other sleds. The liquid cooled guys are a little more finicky to this low snow right now, and I just put a piston kit. Yeah, okay, there we go. Just put a piston kit in the 700 there that I showed you guys, so not looking to redo that job. Not that it was bad, but not made of money either, so we're gonna preserve that as long as we can. Here it is. This is the part that's gonna fight us. It's all right. Could have probably gotten away with reusing this, but again, we're here, so we're gonna do it. Even if it's now going to be a pain to do, we're going to do it. Let's see, do I have a... Here we go. It's actually quite cold out right now. I'm starting to feel it in my fingers, but the out in the sun it isn't bad, but in here it's getting a little cold. I did put a nice little wood stove in here. I got off Marketplace for $5. It needed welded. Had a bunch of cracks in it, so I started a fire in it, flipped it on its side so I could access the bottom, and I started welding it once it was hot. It is cast iron, so had to do what I got to do. Is it pretty? Yeah, not my best work, but it's work, and guess what? It worked. Alrighty, so now with the power of YouTube, we are back to putting this guy in its place here. I funny enough, ended up having to actually make a gasket for the carb, because the one that I had was just a hair off. It looked like, it was close, but it just wasn't quite the right one. And I'm wondering if it was either just not, again, it was just like an aftermarket kind of mess up there, where it's close, but definitely not OEM quality, or if it was maybe just because of the differences between the 250 twin and the 250 single, and maybe what I'm thinking is that there's a slightly smaller carburetor on the 250 twin, and that was the gasket that I ended up getting, so no big deal. All right. I'm going to put a little bit of that guy in there. So we've got that in place. Now it is time for mocking up our boot and carburetor situation. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find 2 nuts that will fit this. I anticipate that is a metric thread, but so I'll probably end up going to my random bolt bin rather than my bolt bin of nicely organized standard thread. But I don't think just don't think we're gonna get lucky with that. That's almost guaranteed to be a metric thread. We'll see what we can find. Rob it off of something else if we have to. I want to ride the same thing. Alright. Alrighty, so I found, we'll grab another one there, but I found a nut in my bin of spare Deutz diesel engine parts, courtesy of my Bobcat engine exploding. That works, so I'm just, I know what that sounds like. These threads are just really dirty. And I don't have a tap, unfortunately, for this size, or a die, rather. So I'm just going to run the nut up and down a few times to clean the threads. Not ideal, but did it to the other side and we're good. Yeah, I mean, you see, it's pretty crummy, but we're getting there. We're making it happen, so. Look at that. Nice and smooth now. All right, so now that we got that, let me go dig out another one of these guys. Again, thank you, Bobcat, for blowing up. I never thought I'd say that. I guess this doesn't really matter which way it goes. There is an impulse, or what looks like an impulse hole up there, but I don't have any impulse tube or whatnot on the actual boot itself. So this guy that's floating around right there is just our primer for the carburetor. That's not related. I'm gonna grab some old flat washers. Make do with these today, and hope that maybe we just won't use washers today, and I'll just run to the hardware store tomorrow because it's Sunday. We'll run these down. Oh, not gonna happen. You have to use the old box wrench. Luckily, these threads are nice and lubricated and cleaned up. We just need our friendly 13mm. Something I just realized, I never put a gasket in there. Not that, I mean, probably should make one. Who am I kidding? I got a rolled gasket maker right there. It'll take me 10 minutes to make a gasket and have a nice, maybe this doesn't need a gasket. I don't know, we'll see. Let's just take a look. I didn't really pay attention to that, in all honesty. Oh, it's got this ring here. Okay. Yeah, we'll send it. It's got this like raised kind of ring, and that's usually an indication that you don't need a gasket. But if I'm getting some vacuum leaks and some weird running situations, then I'll pull it off, make a gasket, or just use the tiniest dab of RTV just to seal it up a little better. What was really surprising to me when I first picked this up is all the cables are nice and usable still. I mean, I'm not gonna have to replace any of the cables to my knowledge yet. I haven't seen if anyone is particularly messed up, but they all seem to function, which I will take. I mean, that's pretty dang impressive for something that's been sitting outside for, as long as this one has. All right, that's feeling pretty tight. Without any washers, I don't want to go super tight, but I just want to make sure it's snugged up enough where we're not going to be, yeah, that ain't moving anywhere. It is a little bit hard, on the harder side, the plastic. So I don't know if, it is cold. I don't know if it'll soften up a little bit once we get the thing running or whatnot, but we'll see. To be decided. All right, this is going to be a first. This thing's been off for a while. That's pretty tight. Let me loosen that a little more. I'm going to give it a little more lubrication with that engine degreaser that we love today. Oh, there it is. Woo! Look at that, baby. Oh, let's go. That was a tight fit. We are not going to have any air leaks there for a while until that softens up. That maybe, but get that tightened down. Yeah. Nice. Love that. Love that. Get our primer hooked back up there. This guy is going to get back down here. I also haven't had to touch the fuel lines yet. Those will get touched, but not today. Not today. All right, this is exciting. We have our carburetor, fuel pump back together inside. Now I'm going to mix up some premix. And if I recall, I don't think this tank was in any bad shape. And I think the fuel line was still good. But we'll find out. All right. So I did take another look. There is some fuel left in the fuel tank. So I'm going to want to go ahead and clean that all out properly. But curiosity has killed the cat, and I need to know if this thing's going to run. And so we got our spark plug here. We'll just run it down by hand and then get it finger tight and put a little fuel directly in the cylinder. I'm curious to see if she's gonna pop to life here. Again, I tested for spark. As you guys saw, we have spark, but what I don't know is if we have a good spark plug. So let's see, is that all the way down? That looks about all the way down. What is that? give me a little. There it is. All right, so let's see if she pops off. Whoa! Look at that! Oh my goodness gracious! Oh, I'm so excited! Wow. Granted, I would hope that they would start like that. Considering I put fuel directly in the cylinder. Holy crap! Oh man, I'm so excited. All right, so we're gonna go ahead. We're going to remove the hood so then we can get the fuel tank out, give it a quick little wash down, get it back together, and then throw some skis on, grab this outside, and then start ripping around the yard. Woo! All right, I'm gonna go ahead here, remove all our hood bolts, remove the hood. Be mindful, I guess, of the fact that this hood is cracked. So I guess as we're maybe what I want to do is remove it from the chassis. What does that look like? Actually, you know what? I bet we could probably get away with not having to remove the hood now that I'm looking at this again. So let's see what that looks like. All right, while you guys were charging up, I went ahead and took care of getting the fuel tank pulled out and drained. So now we're just gonna go ahead, slap some skis back on this grease ball, and get her outside. She definitely is deserving of some paint and a good taken care of. So look forward to being able to do that for this old girl. I've had these off since I transported it. And to be honest, I might have misplaced two of the bolts, but luckily it's just bolts, so we can not quite the size. What is this, 15? Or maybe it's just a 9/16. You know what? Instead of fighting these things, let's just see what I got for new bolts. Just use new bolts, because that's making a little more sense to me right now versus fighting this old crap. Since I need to get some bolts out anyway. Let's see. Are those for guys? Or those might be a little small. Mix size up. There it is. Sweet, yeah, we're just gonna do that. That works. That makes way more sense than for us to mess around with this old crap that ain't worth saving anyway. Not really worth it. Not sure why I didn't just think that from the beginning. I'm gonna grab guy. You guys will see on the other side, it actually, the spring is broke. This is the bottom keeper thingy. Got to maybe just cut this thing. Well, there we go. Add it to our scrap pile of Elan right here. The pile of rust. Sweet. That'll do. That will do. Nice fresh hardware. Again, this will just be coming back apart anyway for restoration. But today, we want to let this old girl breathe while we got some snow. So, sweet. Should have probably laid all that out prior to getting started, but that's the way it goes. I got this bolt kit a couple years ago off of like an Instagram ad or something. There's a company out of Ohio selling these things, and it was really cheap, like really reasonable. And worth every penny. Man, it's been awesome to have. Sweet, there's one. Why is this being so hard right now? I don't want to turn. What's that all about? Huh. I'll have to look into that. Grease everything up. All right. Let me hit some of these steering joints. With some oil. That's a little better. I'll pump some grease into the Zerk fittings down there as well. All right. We'll just go ahead and repeat that step on the other side with our other ski, which is missing the piece underneath. Which now explains why I didn't have the bolts on this side. Nope, I do have the piece underneath. Okay, never mind. That's right. This is the one with the broken spring. No big deal. She'll play. Especially for today. Oh, I'm so excited, guys. This is sweet. This is like Christmas morning for me. Getting this old girl saved from the scrapyard, dragged from Alaska down here, and giving her another life. Pretty dang cool, if you ask me, personally. Maybe some people don't care, but I think it's cool. It's crazy what people will throw away these days. Maybe I'm a little bit of a junk man, but I just like fixing things, and half the things people throw away just need a little elbow grease rather than a complete trashing. Sweet. Let me grab some oil just to put underneath these guys. Hopefully free these up a little bit. Yeah, I'd say loose enough. All right, we're gonna get this off the stand. And again, because of one of the many benefits of this being an Elan, is the fact that, oh, I can do that. Now, I don't really hit the gym, so, which I should, but yeah, whatever. I think we're gonna be able to sneak this guy right out the door. All right, this is exciting. We're outside with the Elan, and I'm just going to spoon feed it a little more, just because I anticipate we'll need to, it'll take a little bit for the fuel to prime itself, since our fuel system is completely dry. So I usually do this in these scenarios. These are apart, which I'll probably have to do something with those in a little bit, but here we go. I see we're pumping a little fuel, so that's good. And before I forget, where did I put the fuel cap for the actual sled? Oh, in my pocket. All right, we'll pull this off again, spoon feed it a little more. Just keep doing this until we have primed the fuel system. Oh, we're getting close. We're getting close. Could probably just get away without having to spoon feed it this one last time, but we'll do it anyway. Then I'll kill it and torque down our spark plug if it wants to stay running, because this is just in there hand tight right now, but we can there we go. Feeling lucky. We're just gonna tighten it down now. There it is. All right, let's see. Maybe spoke a little too soon. I did see our light working though, and I did see it pumping fuel, so that's going to be enough for me to maybe button this gal up right now. Oh, it's going to be smoky, that's for sure. It's going to be a smoky first ride. Tuning. It's a little smoky, but we did it. We got it running. And it is so sick. I love it. I absolutely love it. This is an awesome snowmobile. Oh my gosh. That is an awesome snowmobile.